Hey everyone! So I wanted to make a quick video about mailing stuff and also mailing addresses in Taiwan to English. So I know it's quite a challenge for sometimes when people come here and they have no idea how to get packages from abroad. So I want to talk very quickly about shipping within Taiwan and also internationally. So first I want to talk about if you're shipping to or from internationally, what to do with your address. So typically, at least in the US, we start with the address and then we go on with the street name to the city, state, zip code, and then of course country. But in Taiwan, it's sort of reversed in a way. So in the Taiwanese address, what I mean by Chinese address, when you write it in Chinese, it goes from zip code down to the county, and then down to the city, and then down to your street address. So it's sort of reversed in Taiwan. Now, keep in mind in the Chinese address, again from zip code down to your address or your street name, and even apartment number, everything is by character. So your address will be very short when it comes to your Chinese address. Now, when you translate to English, which I will provide a link for how other people have explained how to abbreviate your address to English as best as possible, and also how to do it. I believe even the post office website gives you like a system or like a little messenger box where you could change your Chinese address to the English version. But things to keep in mind is I've had a lot of trouble with this with my previous address. Some were insanely long when you change it to the English version because you have Chinese addresses sometimes are ridiculous, especially along the countryside. You have, which floor you're on, and then you have which number your apartment is at, and then the streets, and then you have different alleys, and then you have different lanes, and then you have different street names, and then you have county names, you have city names. All of these things are sometimes in a single address. And when you think about the online system in America, typically they're limited to like 26 or 32 or at best 48 characters. So sometimes you have to abbreviate, for example, neighborhood or lane or alley and things like this, and it gets a little bit insane. So I'm going to try my best to find the website, and I'll link it down below in the description box for how you could translate your name, and try to cut it down as short as possible as you can so you can get your stuff in Taiwan. Now, one thing I want to mention from my own experience is sometimes even through all of that, I've lost packages because when you buy things from online websites, everything is processed through a computer. So sometimes it just gets cut off and the people aren't aware of this. And so when they ship it to us, it gets lost, or customs has no idea who to contact, things like this. So I feel like online retailers who are shipping internationally to Asia should always include the phone numbers of the people who live in that country on the shipping labels, but unfortunately a lot of them don't. So I hope retailers will keep that in mind if somehow they see my video. But anyway, but at least when you can tell your friends or something, when you send them a shipping label or something like that, make sure you include as much information as possible. Your Chinese name if you have it, as well as your English name. Basically include both Chinese and English, and then name, address, phone number. I've include email as well. I've include 2 phone numbers if possible. And I'll even leave notations like if you want to ship it to your apartment but you may not be there, I will make a notation like, please hand it off to our security guard, I allow him to accept my packages, or something like that. The more information the better, just because there are times, maybe not in Taipei, but aside from Taipei, the post office people have no clue for some reason if my address is only in English but not in Chinese. So best to be safe, the more information the better. And also the zip code is something to keep in mind. In Taiwan, typically they only have 3 numbers for the zip code, but if you're shipping internationally, you need 5 numbers. So again, I'll link off where you could find your zip code, your full zip code, depending on the area you live in. Now, let's talk about shipping within Taiwan. That must be a little bit easier, most likely. Do it in Chinese if possible. Typically, they'll only accept Chinese anyway. One note is, if you're shipping within Taiwan, you could actually ship to your local 7-Eleven and Family Mart. Super convenient because you have, I believe it's 7 days to pick it up. And let's say if you're on vacation or you don't have a security guard, you don't want to ship things there, because if you're not there to receive it in person, it gets really troublesome to go to the post office sometimes. And sometimes they can't find your place for some reason, especially in a place like Hsinchu, where the older places are not developed in a grid. So sometimes even post office people get really confused where you live. It's really bizarre to me. But anyway, use 7-Elevens and Family Marts and other convenience stores to your advantage. I think I talked about it in another video, which is, for example, my cousin, he had like a big blanket and he didn't want to lug it back from one city, I think it was like Taichung, back to Taipei or something. So instead he just took it to his 7-Eleven and shipped it to his nearest 7-Eleven in Taipei to pick it up. But one thing to keep in mind is there is a size and weight restriction, but I remember it was pretty lenient. But you know, just in case, make sure you ask about it as well. And that's how I shop online as well. It's just shipped typically to a 7-Eleven or Family Mart, just so it's a lot safer. So I hope that's helpful. So you make sure you receive your packages if possible. One thing to keep in mind is, if it is a purchase, I believe if it's over $100 US, basically 3,000 NT, they will declare it through customs, and typically you have to pay some type of customs. Customs is a little bit pricey in Taiwan sometimes, so, and if it has to go through customs, it will take much longer. And there have been instances where I have lost packages once it's gone through customs. And typically when you have to buy things online, they will ask you for your ID number in Taiwan, so that's the only way you have to go through customs. I think, I can't remember the name of the place, but sometimes you'll get an email from a customs website and it looks really dodgy, like it doesn't look very professional, but that is the customs website. So cross-check with people that are local Taiwanese people to ask and see if they know if this is a scam or not. Call different people, things like that, to make sure it's not a scam and you're not entering information that's confidential before you check with other people if it's safe or not. So I hope that's helpful. I hope you get your packages and things like that, especially around the holidays, and care packages to make sure you receive it, things like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I think I'll call it a full recording day by now, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye everyone.